Okay, I'd like to bring this meeting to order. The Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees meeting, July 10th, 2023. Clerk Kornecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Alfano. Here. Trustee Cordova.
Here.
Trustee Corkery.
Here.
Trustee Kozar.
Here.
Trustee Kumar. Trustee Patrick.
Here.
President Kazone.
Here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. We'll come to item 3 is amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments proposed? Okay, seeing none, we have a couple presentations here. Our first one is Beth Marchetti on the upcoming 2025 USA Curling Mixed Double Invitational. Ms. Marchetti is the Executive Director for the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau and will make a presentation about what their office does and the services we benefit from here in Villa Park. Specifically, DuPage CVB and the DuPage Sports Authority have some details about the 2025 USA Curling Mixed Double Invitational. We'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Is this okay working here? Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you very, very much for having me this evening. I got to say hello to many of you, missed a few, saw you in the parking lot. Oh. Nice car.
Hello again. Thank you.
I didn't door dink you. Thank you for having me here. My name is Beth Marchetti, as President said. Oh, there we go. You can probably hear me better now. I have been the executive director. I've had the honor to support and represent the 1 million residents of DuPage County with the goal of making our area a desirable place to live, work, and visit. We have 16,000 hotel rooms in DuPage County, making us one of the largest metropolitan areas of hotel inventory in the country. Who would have known? And if you saw today's headline on the Chicago Tribune, DuPage is no longer boring. We are remarkably cool. So I hope you got to see that. So. Our organization has been around since 1987. I felt I would be remiss if I didn't mention that both Phil and Sis Greco were part of the founding fathers of our organization. So I wanted to just remember them both for their dedicated work to get our organization started. In the mid-'80s, a lot of convention bureaus were started because there was a Build Illinois Act. We are funded by a portion of hotel tax from the state, but it's in the form of a grant. It has to be matched. So thank you to the Village of Villa Park for helping us make that match. We are the voice that talks about DuPage County, so I'm going to go quickly through my presentation. We are the healthiest county in Illinois. We are one of the, we always talk about how much revenue this county drives, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But our efforts are really to promote the county for visitors, but also to market it and also to sell it. So we'll get into that in just a minute as well. I have a little video. makes you want to come to DuPage. So again, thank you to our partner communities for helping us make that grant match. We are a county organization. We do receive a portion of funds from the county, but we are really fortunate to have a lot of the partnerships from, like those mentioned. We are not a county organization, so to speak. The majority of our money comes from the state, like I said, but we do have the support of the county, and obviously have all these really great relationships with different trade organizations. As I said before, we have 16,000 hotel rooms. In 2019, prior to the pandemic, that meant we had 4 million guests that came to DuPage County, just that stayed in our hotel rooms. So when we talk about economic impact, $2.86 billion were spent by visitors in DuPage County, second only to Chicago. Obviously, you know about all the taxes that are generated, both state, local, and also sales tax for the county. But more importantly, we put 24,000 people to work in our hospitality industry. So it's very important that we get as many of those people back to work. Obviously, everyone's facing the same situation where we're trying to find staff, but we're getting closer to normal levels. Villa Park doesn't have a lot of hotels. We understand that. But if you look at the left part of the slide here, only 15% of the spend comes from hotels. It's really those other areas that are really where the money is. The food and drink, the transportation, retail, obviously, and entertainment. So it's really important to make sure that Villa Park is front and center when we're talking to our guests. Just a few of the numbers we're going to go quickly through here, but I think people didn't understand how much and how many amenities we have in DuPage County. I do want to say in 2026, the year of the 100th anniversary of Route 66, it will also be the President's Cup. For those of you who are not golfers like me, Medina will be the only country club in the country that has hosted PGA. Oh my gosh, now I'm going to have my golf brain here. Ryder Cup, the U.S. Open, and now President's Cup. So very elite. We're expecting upwards of 50 to 80,000 people per day, and Villa Park is primed in its location to Medina to benefit from those guests coming to our area. We were fortunate to get some ARPA money from the county, and I'm just showing you a couple of the samples of our campaigns. This is in partnership with all of my partners around the Chicagoland area, because a visitor doesn't know that that side is Cook County and this side is DuPage County. We just want them to come and visit and leave their money here. So just some samples of these ads that we're doing in collaboration with my Chicagoland partners. I'm sure you probably have all heard about Andy Warhol, so we are making sure that the leisure guest knows that DuPage is a place for arts and culture. So here are some samples of the ads that we have from the leisure perspective. Again, your neighbor Elmhurst has a Marvelocity exhibition that's going on right now through August 20th. So we're hoping that they come over on this side and experience some of the restaurants and wonderful things that you have to offer in Villa Park. We also are known for our meetings. We have almost 2 million square feet of combined meeting space. So here's a sample of some of the meetings ad, which are, this is not stock photography. These are meetings that actually were held in DuPage County. Our staff, small but mighty that we are, attends trade shows of travel trade. So here's just an example of some of the wonderful shows that we've been to this year. We have salespeople that specialize in certain segments. So as you see, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, we have someone that's in charge of military reunions, military market. We have someone that's in charge of sports, which I'll get to in just a second, business travel, and then group tour. Just a sample of some of the trade shows that we've been to and that are coming up. All promoting DuPage County and our communities. So in 2019, after several years of our strategic plan, we launched a sports commission. as President Kuzone mentioned. So these were some of the sports that were hosted in DuPage County last year, even despite the fact that we were just coming off the pandemic. Weddings and sports business was really what kind of salvaged our business in the market. So this was really great business for us. Goes a little slow here, but believe it or not, when someone says DuPage for sports, that picture on the left was the USA Cyclocross Classic. We took Cantini's golf course and made it into a cycling event, almost like a Warriors. Were you there? Wonderful. It was pretty amazing. Yes. You have to pick up your bike and jump through sand, and it's just really interesting. It's an obstacle course. The photo on the right is our brand new natatorium in Westmont. This has enabled us, this is a game changer actually. The high school swim meets in Illinois used to be held in either Indianapolis or Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. We couldn't even host our own state swim meets. They are now hosted in Westmont, Illinois. In addition, our wonderful sports director has been able to elevate us into the national level. So this is USA Artistic Swimming, formerly known as Synchronized Swimming, and we hosted their U.S. championship just a couple months ago. And then in the middle, believe it or not, e-gaming, you've all heard about it. We're heavy into esports. This particular event, we had to make sure we have a area that has the broadband and lots of internet with. We had over 3,500 people at our e-gaming show last year. So that's been in DuPage County for about 4 or 5 years, and we're getting it back next year. These are some of the sports that we entertained this year in 2023. To the tune of 77,000 hotel rooms. So sports is not to be forgotten about, and I used to say it's recession proof. I now say recession resistant. But it's been a really good market for us. Business travel, we know Zoom has changed our world. We're not naive in that. So this is an area that we can really hammer and get some of that business here to DuPage County.
You can't Zoom a lacrosse tournament.
Cannot Zoom lacrosse, absolutely. So why I'm here tonight is to talk about, real quickly, the wonderful things that are going on in Villa Park. And thank you to President Kuzone and Manager Harline and Pat Burke and some of the people that joined us at not only does anybody know that you have a world-class curling facility here in Villa Park? Okay, great. Just making sure that you all knew. So again, the 5th annual food truck Bonspiel is going to be here in August. Let me pull out my stats here. So we went on the site tour for that, so thank you, because we were joined by elected officials here and staff. We also are fortunate to host, with that food truck, we have people coming in from Iceland, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, Boston, Alabama, Minnesota, and North Carolina. So lots of really great out-of-town guests that will be here for the area, excuse me. Next is the 5U Bonspiel. So 5U means that you have had to have played curling, is that correct terms? I'm not exactly sure. For under 5 years. So that will be coming. We just locked and loaded that for September through October 1st. We had 28 teams. 22 of those teams are from out of town. So again, those are the high-value customer that we really want, because they're not going to come, play, and then go home and spend the night in their own home. They're going to stay and have dinner in your area, enjoy your craft breweries and all of that. So wonderful. And then, as President Kuzone said, we've got the USA Curling Wheelchair Mixed Doubles, which I think is just absolutely fantastic. We won that due to the lovely folks here helping us. It's always nice for our site tour planners and our sports rights holders to see that you all care about your community and are willing to be there to welcome them. So that actually is going to be held here in 2020, what do I have up there? 2024?
January 2025.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fort Wayne is hosting it. but we're going to beat them, as you can see in the green there. So we will get 26 or 27. We won't get both, but we think we have a lot more amenities than Fort Wayne, Indiana. Sorry, Fort Wayne. So those are some really big wins that we think that even though we say, you don't have a lot of hotel properties, you still benefit by all the other great, wonderful amenities that we have around the area. So thank you again for showing up and being available. That is the end of my presentation. I wanted to be quick. Does anyone have any questions for me? I'm happy to answer them. And again, thank you for having me here tonight. We hope to bring more curling to Villa
Yeah,
Park.
right. It's the curling capital of DuPage County.
There you go.
It's like, come on.
We've even said if we
Possibly
could get one more sheet, USA Curling said that it would even put us in a different category. So maybe there's room for expansion.
Yeah, they were talking, knocking that one wall out
Yes.
and going out, so.
Yes,
It'd be interesting.
absolutely.
It would be great. Well, great. Well,
Any-
thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
And the guys at Windy City Curling, the team, they're fantastic to work with. They're just a lot of fun.
Yeah, they were.
I think I told you this, but during 2019, I helped them write a grant
Yeah.
to get their curling stones. So when 2020 hit, we were wiring money to Scotland to get those stones here, and that was a really interesting process. So really glad that I was able to help them with that. So that was
Yeah.
help them get what they needed for equipment.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are doing a great job promoting
Thank you.
DuPage. Thank you.
Thank you for your partnership.
Okay, we'll move on to item 4B, which is a presentation to Brian Sawyer. Our IT manager, Brian Sawyer, was able to renegotiate the Comcast agreement to the village's significant advantage. And we'd just like to give him the certificate of appreciation to Brian Sawyer is presented in recognition for his impact of village services. As more village programs and services are utilizing internet services, he was able to increase overall internet bandwidth for the village network at no additional cost to the village and for significant annual cost savings. So I'd like to congratulate you, Brian.
I was going to, while you're heading down there, I want to add a little bit
You
of
can give a-
context. The Comcast internet service from the village is going from 200 megabits per second to half a gig, or 500 megabits per second, and the Fire Department 82 connection went from 10 to 40. This was all negotiated for a bill to remain the same. This results in about $7,700 savings annually, and that is also important as we move more and more of our function into on the cloud to have that connection, and we're going to be talking about some of that later tonight. So thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate all your effort.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we will move on to item 5, public comments on agenda items. Do we have anyone signed up?
No one.
No one signed up.
Oh, wait a
Okay.
minute, I do, I'm sorry. I thought it was not on agenda. We do have Cheryl Tucker. Cheryl does have referring to items 8B and 8D.
Good evening. Seeing this board is really involved in community involvement and supporting the residents of Villa Park to get the best possible activities for both the youth and adults that use District 45 gyms. I'm just asking you to authorize the village manager to enter into that agreement with District 45 for the youth baseball. It's a good thing to get us started with the village and District 45 to work together and provide mutual benefits to the residents of Villa Park. And I think if we start with this combination that we're already in, we have a chance to move forward and benefit with more things with District 45, because it's kind of a joint thing, and it's a really important thing that we work with our school districts and get them working. So I'm asking you to support that. As for 8D, as part of the board who brought Susanna here to be our assistant village manager, to help our village manager with everyday operations so the village could run more efficiently. At the time, I am sure this board can see is only more logical. The logic in this, and it makes logical sense, that she should be the person working jointly with our village manager, that she should be the person to step in when our village manager is unable to do things or unavailable because maybe he's on vacation or somewhere else and enjoying his time. And that Mike Guerrero from Public Works should cover the duties if either one of them, our village manager or assistant village manager, are not available for some reason, just in case they're both at a conference or something going on, that we have somebody in the village that can continue running the village smoothly if either one of them are not available to do it. And I'm just asking your support to put that forward on 8D. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. Okay, anyone else? Public comments on agenda items?
Good evening, Christine Murphy, 523 South Yale Avenue. And I wasn't necessarily intending to speak, but I would like to support Cheryl Tucker's recommendation for both Suzanne McVeigh as next person in command after Manager Harline and also Director Guerrera. All of the documentation that's been in place up to this point supports the Public Works Director as next in line in the event that we did not have the assistant manager, but now that we do, I think this is a perfect recommendation, and I would encourage the board to vote yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We move on to the consent agenda. Item 6A, bill listings for the weeks June 26th, 2023 and July 3rd, 2023, in a total amount of $605,021.50. And item 6B, minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting from June 26th, 2023. And do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Trustee Corkery, do we have a second? Trustee Patrick. Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances. Item 7A is an ordinance correcting the numerical identification of ordinance number 4727 and renumbering said ordinance to ordinance number 4277, amending the incorrect reference in any subsequent ordinance, including ordinance number 4345 to reference the corrected ordinance number. Manager Harline, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, the ordinance will renumber ordinance number 4727 to ordinance number 4277, which would have been its sequential number, except for the the trading of the 2 and the 7 in the middle of the number. The ordinance also corrects any incorrect reference to ordinance 4727 as it is referred to in subsequent ordinance, including ordinance number 4345, and corrects and amends the ordinance to correctly read ordinance 4277. Just a Scrivener's error, and it's better to take care of it through an ordinance to fix two different ordinances, and this will take care of that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Cordova? Good, we have a second? Trustee Alfano? Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Item 8A is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, waiving the bidding requirements and authorizing a contractual agreement with Belfuel, Zur and Associates for the license, implementation, and maintenance support for Enterprise Resource Planning System software. Manager Harline.
For the 2023 budget, staff proposed funding towards the implementation of an enterprise resource planning ERP system software, which would replace current outdated and inefficient software used by finance, community development, and basically all departments in one way or another. The software will include human resource and work order software, which the village does not currently have in place. After extensive research, staff is recommending implementation of the ERP system offered by, I'm going to say BS&A, which offered the best combination of functionality and price. The solution will provide integrated software across the village for real-time seamless integration with permitting, business licensing, utility billing, and finance, which will in turn provide many opportunities for expanded citizen engagement and service. The cost for the modules, database, setup, and implementation will not exceed $292,605. Implementation will take 18 to 24 months, payments occurring over the 3 budget years. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance. I also point the board to the lengthy memo and documentation. Although this is a request for this is a request to go without a formal bidding process. Staff received quotes and demonstrations from Tyler Munis and OpenGov and looked at other systems. The Tyler Munis, which is some people regard as the gold standard in the industry, was $932,000 plus. OpenGov was $423,000, and I believe that version of OpenGov did not include the full GL or the GL modules and some of the other modules that we would really need to make this work seamlessly. It would have integrated with our existing software and made it easier to get information out of it, but it would not have replaced it. So some of these functions and Assistant Village Manager McVeigh, our IT Manager Brian Sawyer, who worked extensively on this, and probably at the center of this, Chuck Howard, our Finance Director, are also here to answer questions. We welcome them. It's a big spend, but it's a lot less than some other softwares that also do this. And just one little anecdote. Well, I went to the ICMA conference last year, and my staff has heard this, and they're already going to be rolling their eyes to hear it again. But so Tyler Munis had this really fancy setup, and they had the things with the big display up hanging from the ceiling and about 4 or 5 spaces, and OpenGov was about half that size. The BS&A display was a guy sitting behind a table, and they just had the placard that they gave him, and that was it. And not very impressive, but Chuck Howard's already worked with them, and they put their money into the product, and that's probably why their system costs significantly less than the others. And we talked to other villages who've worked with these systems. When I came from Dover, we were in year 3 or 4 of I think you're now in year 5 of a 3-year installation of Tyler Munis, and they had phases 1, 4, and 2 installed, and they were working on 1, 3, and 2, and they were working on 4 when I left. I've heard some good implementation stories and some, awful implementation stories from some of these others. Most of the reports we've had back, by far the majority of reports we've had back with BS&A were positive. And again, our finance director has previous experience working with this software. So with all those things considered, we did do extensive research. It's very difficult to do just a straight RFP for something like this. And so we're asking for support and open to more questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion on the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Hey, do we have a second? Trustee Cordova? Questions or comments? Trustee Patrick?
I have just a couple. First of all, I was hoping that staff would be able to let our residents know what the benefit of the village going in this direction would be as opposed to what we are currently doing. And then also the second question that I have is, if we weren't going to waive the bidding requirements for this, what would that process look like in turn? And why specifically are we wanting to waive those that bidding requirement?
Well, I'll answer the second part first. Because it is difficult to write specifications for all the different parts that you would want to have in this process, and also you'd want to have a demonstration of each one of them, it makes it more difficult to get to say, I want your price on this date, when you still also want to see demonstrations of the products. We've gone through that process. We've done extensive research, but having to describe how you want each one of them is going to have a different set of solutions to problems of integrating community development with the billing software, or billing software with community development with utility billing, these different things. So, I mean, we can write some general guidelines like that, but we would still have had to go through the same process of trying to figure out exactly, how those different features work together, how those different modules, how those different modules work together, and and if they work with other things that we're currently using. So, and I don't know, if Brian, if you'd like to make that more.
Yeah, I can kind of piggyback on what you're saying. Like Manager Harlan was saying, that we've done extensive research on this, and believe it or not, there's actually not many players that do an ERP software for municipal government. There's a lot for businesses and enterprises, but not many for municipalities. So we've done extensive research. I reached out to a vendor probably 6 times, never got back to me. So that was a red flag right there. They don't want our business. But like we said in the memo, the prices are all over the board. We don't need, the Cadillac, BMW, whatever for a Tyler Munis. And also, I reached out to several municipalities that use Tyler, and they had bad experience with it. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to spend money on something that has frustrations, frustrate staff or residents. At least 3 or 4 municipalities that use BSNA have nothing but good things to say about it. Implementation, ease of use, the residents like it. So regarding your question, Trustee Patrick, on what residents would benefit from it, we have one form of payment now. Right now we have 2 or 3. We would have one form of payment. They have an invoice cloud account, so you could pay your permit, you could pay a fine, you could pay for utility billing, a dog tag, whatever. You have one account to manage everything. You can log in and look at your property and see, you can schedule an inspection, which you cannot do now. You have to call and go through the whole chain over there. You can schedule it and see real-time availability on an inspection, see the status of your permit, pay your water bill, change anything on your account, and see everything related to your properties in Villa Park with one account. That would also streamline the process for staff internally, where we have 2 separate systems right now. They don't talk at all. So if someone moves in and needs a water turn on, they have to call on the phone or email over to Public Works, go do this. It's just so inefficient. We're wasting a ton of time, where with a system like this, we have one database, one true record. They put it in the system that kick off the workflow, routes to the appropriate person to go out there and either turn off a meter, turn on a meter, do an inspection. Everything is work order driven. So they can't say, I didn't see it, I missed it, I forgot about it. Everything is in that portal for staff. They have one place to go for one record. That is our gold database right there. We don't have that right now. So it's very cumbersome, it's very confusing, and hard for staff to deal with the multiple departments. So again, like the memo says, this is not just an apples to apples replacement. We're going to get more features out of going with a system like this for staff, for payroll, timesheets. They can see how much vacation days are. That's all internal stuff, but stuff we don't have right now.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Cordova.
Yeah, I've run across a couple of B2B ERPs in my life that stand up as a beast. So the end result is efficiency for staff and actually a seamless, experience for residents. So I'm in full support. I know and to RFP that is a nightmare. You got to rewrite it. You got to write it for whatever they have, and
yep. Even with these 3 vendors, they don't offer similar things. We are trying to find something that obviously is cost effective, but meets our needs. We don't want to pay for something we're not going to use, but again, like I said, we don't need everything. These are our core modules that we need for the village.
And my question is, did they give you a timeline of what, 18 to 24 months, okay.
Correct.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Yep. Anything else?
Quick question, the updates on these, will they service it for how long, or?
Correct. So it's constantly updated. So again, this is a cloud solution, so it's nothing housed in-house here. So they are responsible for the uptime. That's what we're paying for. So it's redundant, it's backed up. It does not live in-house, which we really don't do remote work, but if a staff needed to do remote work, they would have access to everything, which they cannot do right now.
Great, okay, thank you. Any other questions? Trustee Alfano.
My question, I think, will be directed more for Director Howard, so thank you very much. It has to do with just some cost. I know that some of the initial cost is listed at about 300,000, just a little less than 300,000. Does that include that annual fee for the first year, or is that going to be included? An additional. Oh, sorry, it's not even for Director Howard. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, and I was confused, and I was reading through that, and I had some questions.
So it does. So the biggest portion of it is going to be your implementation training. So that's, I think, a little over 200,000, and then our first initial annual fee.
Okay.
But it also replaces, like right now, we have annual fees for all of our disjointed softwares. So that is about 80,000 in the first year.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was what I was unclear about.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Oh, I do have one, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Also, what was budgeted for this goal in this year's budget? Do we know?
I don't, do you remember? Yeah.
A ballpark?
So we did, I
Ballpark-ish?
believe we budgeted about 300,000. So we had planned, we had initial quotes, and again, that is high. So when we met with everybody, we wanted sort of the worst case scenario. We anticipate that we won't hit that number. We could, right? We want to make sure people are trained, but we did budget for that knowing, well, I shouldn't say 300,000. We are in first year. What is the first year's is 91. So we, I think, had 200,000 for the first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
Our maintenance costs are about 100,000 a year. Is that right?
This new system?
Yeah.
It would be, I think it's 80.
89.
Was it?
So
What's the recurring?
it's 97.
81,000.
81,000.
81,800.
What are we paying now in terms of,
So the two main systems we have right now is 46,000, but that's not including the hardware and storage we're paying for. That's in-house. That will have to be, I think it's next year. So it's on a storage area network where we store all of our virtual servers. So if we went this route, I would lose 3 servers and all that data can be migrated out of there. So come next year, I could purchase a smaller SAN, which would be even more savings to replace that. And again, that doesn't include, it's not an apples to apples that we don't have some of those features right now.
okay.
Yep.
So, and then because we're not doing it in-house, we're also saving a significant amount of Brian's time and able to reallocate that. We also have several different credit card vendors, and a lot of small ancillary softwares that we also would not have to have anymore, which would, cut down on that cost as well.
So if we are trying to compare apples to apples and we're paying 81 a year, we've got the 46 plus maybe another 20,000 plus or minus. So really our increase is nominal in the sense of 15, 20,000 extra a year.
Correct.
But for a broader system, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So it's adding the work orders and the HR software, which we do not currently have. So that is also a huge component that is desperately needed for the village as well.
So then when we're looking at the roughly 300,000 for for this, you said that 200 was the actual software, the other 90 was, or implementation?
Yes.
And then the other 90 was that first year
Was that first
cycle?
year.
Right. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Hernecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. And thank you all for your updates on that and information. Okay, item 8B is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a maintenance and facility use agreement between Villa Park School District 45, the Village of Villa Park, and Villa Park Youth Baseball Association, Inc. Manager Harline.
I talked with Superintendent Palmisano today, both this and the next item. I keep hoping that we get all the pieces ironed out. They are not 100% ironed out yet. So the board may wish to table this again, and it won't cause me any consternation. But we're about, he said we're about 99% of the way there with the maintenance facility use agreement. The one last piece is to nail down, in the previous agreement that went from 2007 to 2017, it was specifically stated in that agreement that after that the schools had precedent during the day, and the village would have precedent for programming at night, and we want to continue that in the future agreement. And exactly how that works is the only remaining piece. So if you want to table this until we have that worked out in 2 weeks, I believe that should be on their action agenda for the 17th, Monday the 17th, and we would have another week to work it out. I was hoping I'd be able to talk to him a little bit over the weekend and Friday, and it just took till today to get that done. And so that's where we are with that one. And if you don't mind talking about 8C, there are several, he has been given authorization to negotiate an agreement on the SRO, but there's a few things that they want to add to the agreement. And some things that we talked about, and some things that, I didn't get into the agreement, whether it was my fault not telling Melissa or whatever, but we're running into some timelines there. The new class for SRO training starts August 7th, and so we're hoping to move some things along. If you approved 8C definitely and 8B slightly as is, you would have to give authority to myself to negotiate those details. Among the details on the SRO is specific training that I'd like to see an implicit bias. They wanted defined how the backup SRO would go. The plan was to send 3 people to SRO training. One's going to go to District 88. They picked who they want. And then depending upon when the District 45 works with the village, we have a group of people who are willing or interested. We would send 2 of those people that are most, ideally we'd have the discussion first, and they'd say these are our favorites, and we'd send them for SRO training. They're all going to be good. It's just whichever one District 45 is most comfortable with, and we're trying to be very cooperative on this. And then, so then they are asking about the price again, which and reimbursement for days when our officer cannot be there because they're called out on other items. So those are some issues that we need to hand out or to hammer out, and I think we'll be able to get those things done. We really want, this is an officer who will go in dressed as an SRO officer, not with the full, pardon my statement, Dan, but the full battle gear, as it were, and to be a daily presence in that school, ready to respond if necessary, but to be a daily presence in that school, to build a relationship with those young people and law enforcement, and also to build a relationship with District 45 in the village in terms of being at the ready in case a minor incident breaks out, or a quick, have somebody in the school to call assistance if something larger breaks out. One of the other parts is, which will probably be more difficult to put in wording, is one of the things they would like us to do is to promise not to hand out like tickets, like minor citations to minors. We don't have a problem with that. Whether or not we can put that in a legal agreement to give up that authority is something we need to work out. But they would, if there was something came down that was more problematic, we'd of course respond. So that's where we're at, and however you guys want to handle it.
Okay, first off,
Sorry.
we would need a motion either to go ahead with voting on the resolution. Go ahead.
Typically do a motion to open up the discussion and then a motion to postpone.
Okay. Okay, so we'll need a motion to discuss this resolution. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, Trustee Kozar? Okay. Discussion.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that we table items 8B and 8C until our next stated meeting on July 24th in order to give the village manager appropriate amount of time to hash out the fine details.
Okay.
And technically, that would be a motion to postpone to the next regular meeting of July 24th. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a second on that? Trustee Cordova? Okay, any discussion, comments? Trustee Kozar?
I'm okay with giving the manager discretion on both these items to work out the finer points of them, to kind of expedite it and just move it right along. I don't know what Manager Harline would put into a contract that we would object so strongly on at this point, but that would be my feeling towards it.
Yeah, make a
Sure,
comment.
go ahead.
With respect to item 8B, the resolution as written does allow the manager some authority to make amendments to the agreement as long as they're not so substantial in nature that it would necessitate coming back to the board before approval. So if the board decides not to postpone this item, but approve the agreement in substantial form as written, allowing the manager the authority to make changes to it, the resolution is written that way.
Trustee Cordova?
Can we say yes to B, but wait for C? Can we separate them out?
The way the motion is right now, it's
Okay.
both of them.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was for 8B. There really
and
was no...
Yeah, it was C too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there should be some clarification here because each item should be dealt with independently.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
when I requested that a motion be opened for discussion, my intention was that it be 8B and that we're simply discussing item 8B.
Okay.
So, Trustee Patrick, can you clarify since you made that initial
Sure.
motion?
Well, then I will remake a motion.
Just clarify.
Clarify? Okay. So the motion would be to table item 8B until or postpone this agenda item 8B until our next stated meeting at July 24th.
Okay. And then also your initial motion for discussion on the matter related to item 8B only, when you opened up the discussion with your motion on that.
Sure.
Okay.
My fault for talking about both of them. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that motion? Trustee Alfano?
So my question then would be if the discussion involves tabling this until the next meeting, what would we worry about? What are those big issues that we would worry about having in this agreement that would cause us to say yes or no? I think that's to Manager Harline because you have most of that depth of information.
Well, about the only thing that's left that has not been discussed and hammered out in this agreement would be that issue about about the preference for village activities in the District 45 buildings, since they are not going to be charging, the cost is, the point about the cost is moot. So, my mother would roll over in her grave if I said the point was mute. The point is moot. So we're now at, do we get that most favored nation status? Do we get a sort of a first choice at the best times? One of the issues that we had towards the end of as the agreement was expired or post-expired, was that it was harder and harder to get times, especially for youth activities at a early enough hour. So there's going to be some less pressure for time as we open up our recreational facility. We'll still need some, but that would be the only thing on 8B that is really a sticking point. Like I said, Dr. Palmisano in our conversation today said it was about 99% done.
Thank you.
Okay, Attorney Wolf.
Yes, and at the last meeting, Trustee Alfano, I think that you requested information regarding the extension of the agreement for a longer term, but just so you know, the way the agreement as written is for this season and next season only.
Okay.
And I believe that's the preference of the school district, but if there is any changes that can be made in that regard, we understand that the board's interest is to allow for a longer term. But if you approve it today, the agreement is for a shorter term as written.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Patrick.
In previous meetings, we've talked about the new recreation center being built in the space that's going to be utilized in that center, and how staff has made it known that by entering into an agreement with District 45 and something like this is valuable because we also could utilize that space for our programs as well. So that seems to be one of the points of contention that you had mentioned later in the discussions. I think it's important that those details get hashed out prior to, so that way moving forward, we have a better idea of how we're going to have to better utilize our space at the recreation center if we are not allowed the time and space at District 45 due to this agreement.
President Casano, I think that's a valid point. And I think one of the advantages of a short agreement, especially up front, is that we get a year to see how that works, and then we can come back and also the costs for the baseball association are going to change over time, so we don't want to get locked into the same price for a long time. But that's a very good point to figure out what our needs are going to be, what our needs are now, and what they're going to be in a year plus when we open the facility. So I think that's an advantage of the shorter agreement. We definitely need space now. We're going to need some space in the future, but I think that's a good point.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, so this is a vote to motion, or to table item 8B to our next meeting on July 24th. Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, I have it as postponed.
To postpone.
To July
yes.
24. Okay, thank you. Okay, Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
No.
Trustee Cordova,
No.
President Casone.
I too vote no. I'd like to see, I'm okay with the manager. Okay, so that is 3-3, so that does not pass.
The motion to postpone does not carry.
Okay. Okay, so we already have the motion on the original resolution. Any questions or comments on the actual resolution? Trustee Kozar.
So if we vote to allow the manager to have some discretion and just take this over the finish line here, I would ask that the manager come back and give us a detailed report of how that final leg of the race, so to speak, went, what was put into that contract, so we have an understanding of it. It's only going to be for 1 year, so if we don't like it, we're going to revise it next year.
Yep.
So, given that implicit, understanding, I'm comfortable with giving you the discretion to just finish this up and be done with it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Clerk Kornecki, please. Oh, hang on.
No, I just was going to add one more thing. Because a couple of the trustees wanted to postpone it, was there anything specific that you're concerned about that might get into the contract?
So, the previous contract expired in 2017, and I believe it was initiated in 2009 or somewhere. Seven.
They were 10-year contracts.
So there had been a huge gap in this, and in that time frame, there had been a lot of discrepancies or just needing of clarification, and that's why I think this is so important that this agreement gets taken care of. First of all, I want to make sure it's taken care of the right way. So that way, a lot of these details, especially when we go to utilize the spaces or what we enter into agreements on, that we know going forward how to best utilize our new space, our new recreation center. Being that this is a year contract, I agree with you that I think that I wouldn't have a problem authorizing the manager to enter into that agreement. However, like you had mentioned, I would like to see a detailed report on how those discussions went and what went into that. Again, if it's just a year, I think we could manage that. But I would like to, in a year from now, come back and have a discussion to see how things have transpired over the previous year. If any of those details need to be adjusted or rearranged, if we even need the additional space previously. So we'll see. We'll have a new recreation center in a year.
Yep.
Thanks. Okay, anything else? Okay, Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
This is on the actual resolution.
Yeah, yes, sorry.
Okay, Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, we will move on to item 8C, is a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Villa Park and DuPage School District 45 for school resource officer service. We have a motion for the resolution. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Kozar? Questions or comments? Trustee Kozar?
So if we were to do the same thing as we did on 8B, to give the manager discretion to finish this one up as well, what are the key things that are missing that needs work on?
Well, the issue, so as it is, we're pretty okay with it, but there are some things that 45 would like to see, and I get it, and these are some of these things we discussed, and I just didn't get, they need to be added if we're going to meet all the things that they've asked for. And one of the big things is they wanted to make sure that the training that the officers in the SRO program have, or separately, includes implicit bias training. They're reimbursed District 45 for days when we aren't there. So they would pay, there'd be a contract price for the, this percentage of whatever the officer is. And if they were assigned somewhere else that day, like if there was some event, or if they, we'd have a backup. So if they were just off, we would have a backup. But if there was some reason why we had all our officers had to respond to something and there was a reimbursement due because they weren't able to be at the school for the day. And then the other issue has to do with their level of say in which person is chosen to be their SRO. We've done this with 88. We're not going to give them a choice of all 37 officers. It's going to be people who have expressed interest in the SRO program, any of which would work for our staff. And I don't know, we also have Deputy Chief McCann here who could answer some of the more operational questions. So those are the big issues. And then part of it, they also want to talk about the price. It's been 60% since we started. I think actually 88 is slightly higher than that. So that's one that they're going to have to they're going to have to show some pretty good reasons why we want to lower it below 60%. But those are the issues. And then and citations for kids, that's not as long as it's legal to negotiate that out, we don't have a problem with that.
So it seems like there's some bigger issues with 8C than there are with 8B.
I'd say that's fair.
So maybe it would make sense to bring this back in 2 weeks.
That sounds fair. We'll continue to negotiate anyway.
Right.
And we can do a lot of the steps.
In terms of the reimbursement, is it reciprocal? If there's a reason that our officer is there longer than necessary, would they be contributing additional funds as well?
If they had a night activity, PTA event, and he was expected to be there, they do pay, and they do pay overtime. That's the expectation. That's how it works with District 88.
So I would like to make a motion to postpone this to the next meeting to a date certain, which is, what's the
July.
24th.
Yeah, July 24th.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Second, trustee Cordova. Okay, questions or comments on postponing? Okay. Kurkanecki, this is to postpone to July 24th, the resolution.
Okay, trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Cordova.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, so that will be on the July 24th agenda. Move on to item 8D is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, naming Assistant Village Manager Suzanne McVeigh as Administrative Officer and making provision for an acting Administrative Officer. Manager Harline.
In July of 2019, the Board of Trustees named Michael Guerra as Administrative Officer by resolution to fulfill the duties of Village Manager if the Village Manager were to become incapacitated or absent from the state from the office, or absent from the office entirely. This allows for continuity of government in terms of approving bills and contracts if the village manager were unable to do so. As Public Works Director, he was the most logical choice. In 2021, the position of Assistant Village Manager was created, and in June of that year, the village manager hired Suzanne McVeigh as the first Assistant Village Manager in Villa Park under Ordinance 4218. With the creation of the position, the logical choice for the Administrative Officer is the Assistant Village Manager. Moreover, both the Assistant Village Manager and the Village Manager were both out of town. Having a third of line in succession is a prudent move, specifically if we both were to go to the ICMA conference one year, which, I'm trying to encourage Suzanne to do. But so that gives us another the differences of the assistant village manager, the administrative officer gets a stipend. It's right now $6,000 per annum. That would be started for McVeigh, and then my recommendation would be to eliminate it at the beginning of the fiscal year for Guerra, so there would be a double payment for a period of time. That's that's the way I'd like to proceed. It's hard to take money out of somebody's pocket, and he would be there would be sort of a long-term payment for the position of acting village manager or acting administrative officer in perpetuity. That would not be, there would no longer be, there wouldn't be a stipend for the acting.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, do we have a second? Trustee Patrick, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Hernecki, please.
Okay, trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 8E is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the village manager's purchase of a Ford F-350 pickup truck with plow attachment for the Public Works Department at a cost not to exceed $65,000. Manager Harline.
Previously, on December 12, 2022, the village board authorized the purchase of a Ford F-350 pickup truck with plow attachment for Public Works through the State of Illinois Joint Purchasing Program at a cost not to exceed $65,000. That was on Resolution 2222. The current demand for vehicles in the marketplace has prevented the village from acquiring the needed truck in a timely fashion. The same vehicle is or may become immediately available through the joint local dealerships as a cost equal or lower to, and in fact, we received today a quote of $51,795 before adding the plow attachment. The current demand for vehicles in the marketplace has prevented us from acquiring. The same vehicle is or may become, I already said that. The proposed ordinance will vest the village manager with the authority to purchase a Ford F-350 pickup with plow attachment or other substantially similar comparable vehicle for the Public Works Department through a dealership without competitive bidding at a cost not to exceed $65,000. This kind of gets back to the point of being difficult to find vehicles. And I realize we just went through a whole discussion about leasing, but this is one we had budgeted, and right now, one of the reasons we had Raymond Jess here today was because we're gonna, as soon as we get that agreement, assuming the board approves that agreement in 2 weeks, we would start looking to purchase vehicles for 2024 right now. If we would be waiting 6 more months to get this, whereas we could get this vehicle, they're holding one for us. There's an actual vehicle out there that we could obtain for this price right now. We've been authorized to buy it since December 12th. So,
Okay.
without beating a dead horse, that's all I have.
Okay, so we have a motion for the resolution.
I'll make that
Trustee
motion.
Corkery, do we have a second? Trustee Cordova? Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Casone.
Yes.
Okay, just one other comment. We do believe strongly that we'll be able to get the plow and other attachments and still keep it well under $65,000.
Thanks.
Eight.
Director Guerrero is very happy. Okay, item 9, public comments on non-agenda items. Do we have anyone signed up? Anyone in the audience? Okay, I do have one email that was sent to Clerk Kornecki from a resident, Val Hopkins. She would like this read into the record. It is appropriate and essential for this board to delay their decision to install a cell tower on School District 88 property until the FCC complies with the U.S. Court of Appeals mandate. The Village of Villa Park is deserving of an unprecedented exemption from the industry-ruled deadline to approve or deny the cell tower application in light of the following. On August 13, 2021, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Court ordered the FCC, the Commission, to explain its statement as to how current guidelines are adequate and also address the impact of RF radiation on children, the health implications of long-term exposure to RF radiation, the ubiquity of wireless devices and other technological developments that have occurred since the Commission last updated its guidelines. The court referred to FCC's 2019 decision to not update its guidelines as arbitrary and capricious because it failed to consider the non-cancer evidence regarding adverse health effects of wireless technology. It is feasible the failure of the FCC to be in compliance with the court renders moot the village's FCC deadline for municipalities to act in response to an industry application, as there are no current safety standards. In negotiations and applications for the industry to rely upon non-existent standards appears to be more than misleading. Almost 2 years since the court order, Scott McCulloch, lead attorney in the case, who until a few years ago represented the telecom industry, authored the petition to the Court of Appeals because that is something to which they must respond, to be in compliance with administrative law. Almost 2 years since the court order, Attorney McCulloch's petition states, "The Commission cannot just sit on this matter any longer. Any continued non-action will violate the judgment and mandate and expose the Commission to further judicial review and ultimately a mandamus order requiring action." I quote directly from the court's 2021 decision that the FCC shall provide a reasoned explanation for its determination that its guidelines adequately protect against harmful effects of exposure to radio frequency radiation unrelated to cancer. It must in particular one, provide a reasoned explanation for its decision to retain its testing procedures for determining whether cell phones and other portable electronic devices comply with its guidelines. 2, address the impacts of RF radiation on children, the health implications of long-term exposure to RF radiation, the ubiquity of wireless devices and other technological developments that have occurred since the Commission last updated its guidelines, and 3, to address the impacts of RF radiation on the environment. And this is related to an item that was in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission at their last meeting for a cell tower at District 88 property, and I believe will be on our agenda our next board meeting. Okay, with that, we'll go to item 10, Village Clerk's Report.
Just a reminder, Kiwanis has another concert on Wednesday, the 12th, at 6:30 PM at the gazebo. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Well, it has to be, we didn't get the last one, so is it another one?
We just keep moving.
Okay, we go to Village Trustees Report. We'll start on my left with Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I wanted to thank everybody and thank the VFW and those individuals and organizations that helped with our fantastic 4th of July parade. It was really hot and humid, but that didn't stop people from coming out. There were a lot of people celebrating the 4th in Villa Park, and it was nice to see the crowds in the street. Our Mariners swim team they're wrapping up their season. This weekend, they have B conference, and the following weekend is A conference, so good luck to them. Go fight and swim. And then lastly, and this is more for the board, I'm hoping that we can schedule a cow that would focus on liquor licensing, what the ordinances are in the village, particularly relating to random businesses having cash bar events, BYOB events, where responsibility lies when an establishment overserves, and what the laws are in the state as well. And perhaps this can include some data from the police department regarding how many calls and how many of its resources have been used handling issues related to alcohol consumption at establishments in our community. My request stems from a few random licensing questions that were directed towards me in the past 2 weeks from residents that could not find answers to their questions on the village website. I have also had a few inquiries about recent incidents during the day at establishments in our village where the optics made it seem like most of the officers on duty that shift were handling issues stemming from alcohol consumption at local establishments. And these residents are curious if licensing laws put some of that responsibility of managing those alcohol-related issues onto the licensed holder and not just our police department. And I think the cow would be a great place to educate people on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay.
No report.
Trustee Corkery. Okay, Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. I will piggyback off of what Trustee Alfano said. I want to commend our village staff and our village manager for such a job well done on the 4th of July parade. And not just a job well done, but the collaboration and the meetings and the months of meetings that went into the preparation and planning with the VFW to make this such a successful event. I've heard nothing but great things from our residents about how well and how organized this parade has been this year, as well as the VFW about how happy they are with the communication and the planning that they've had over the past few months with our village. And that's something that they haven't had in the past. Organizations like the VFW are a major asset to our community. And I think it's very beneficial for our community, for our local government, the village here, to work with them and cooperate with them and help them put on events like the 4th of July parade. So again, job well done. There was a lot of planning and effort that did go into it. And overall, the residents are very happy, the VFW is happy, and you guys did a great job with that. So thank you for all of that. And I know it was some late hours too, some off hours, cleaning up and putting things away, but y'all did it. And it was a very successful event, so thank you for that. Thank you. Lastly, today I sent out an email to the village board with some ideas that I had regarding enhancing the utilization of our commissions and fostering better communication. Over the last, couple of weeks, couple of months, we've had a lot of discussions regarding our commissions and commission members. And after having a meeting with our village manager and understanding some more of the intricacies that the village takes on and with village staff, I think it's important that we come together, whether that be at a COW meeting or on an individual basis, to talk about some of these ideas that I put into this email. And just, I would really like to see that in a COW meeting as well. If you could review that email, get back to me with your thoughts and ideas, and then try to get the ball rolling with some of the discussions pertaining to this. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Cordova?
No report.
Hey, Trustee Kozar?
I saw that we did get a draft agenda Thursday evening. I'd like that draft agenda to be sent out next Monday, a week in advance. It doesn't have to be complete, but the items that you're looking to have on the next meeting, I'm sure a week in advance, you already have some concept of what that's going to be as it evolves. So I'd like to see a draft agenda 1 week ahead of time. Thank you.
We can do it without attachments. That would be no problem.
Great, thank you.
Okay. We move to the village president's report. I also would like to thank staff, the VFW did a great job on the parade. Saw a lot of people on their parkways enjoying it and having a good time. Like everyone said, it was pretty warm, but it was good seeing everybody. Like to commend the video commission, Trustee Patrick and Al Stash for great video and some good interviews on that. So if you get a chance, check on the YouTube channel and watch the parade again. This Monday, July 17th, between 5:30 and 7 o'clock, there will be an open house at the Iowa Community Center discussing the new rec center that's getting built, master plan community meeting. Thank you. I don't know if Director Gola, if you want to say anything about it, but it's open house between 5:30 and 7 o'clock.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good evening. Yeah, it would be a community input meeting for folks to weigh in on the type of playground they would like to see, some of the amenities of the playground, climbing wall, maybe a climbing net, the gliders, that type of thing. So we'll have a few options that they can look at and weigh in on that. Basketball court, there's really not much you can say on the basketball court. We will be putting one in. But there's some other items that we would like to add, educational garden. So there's some things that, and there might be some other ideas that the residents may have that we can incorporate. So they have that opportunity. They can stop by anytime between 5:30 and 7 on Monday. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, thank you. And finally, with the 4th of July, obviously comes fireworks. Did not seem as bad as normal, but there's still a lot. And I don't know if our Deputy Chief McCann, I know I've heard from a lot of residents that there were some areas that had a lot of fireworks going off the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. And I'd like to give a little quick talk on
Yes, I actually looked at our logs, and this year was not as bad. Actually, we're nowhere near as busy this year as we were last year, maybe because it was on a Tuesday and the weather played a part. We did write a couple citations in the last week, and we have done some warnings, and we have confiscated some fireworks. But, I mean, as we all know, on the 4th of July, on that day itself, it's impossible to control. I mean, but after the 4th of July, we try to do a little bit more enforcement. And the only ongoing complaint we have right now is at one of the parks in the north side of town, which our officers are doing an extra watch on. And that's about it. I mean, like I said, it was quieter this year than it was last year.
Yeah, it seemed like it.
So.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, we'll go to the village manager's report.
Just a couple of items. The Parks and Rec Advisory Commission will be broadcast via YouTube tomorrow. It will not be on the cable channel for a couple of reasons. One, I did not realize this, but they can remotely broadcast on the YouTube channel without any problem. but we also have, but they don't have the equipment to do it on the cable TV channel. There's also a conflict with the Traffic and Safety Committee because they have a rare second Tuesday meeting. So at 8 o'clock, if Parks and Rec Advisory Commission wasn't done, they would have had to switch over anyway. But they I did not realize this, but they cannot broadcast on their cable TV channel from that building. So we're going to continue to have the conversations about moving here. I know that the particular wheelchair that one of the members has, we believe would be difficult to negotiate up that ramp and around here. We haven't tried it, but that is it's not a standard wheelchair. It's not and that ramp may or may not be fully ADA compliant with its slope and then the lip at the bottom. So we're going to look at different options because there's also a sound issue, but we will make sure that it is broadcast on YouTube live at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. And then if I could ask our assistant village manager to give us an update on the website and one of the projects her and Donnie Pisano have been working on.
Yeah, so we, over the last several months, have been doing essentially a facelift to our village website. So part of our contract agreement when we implemented our new website was that periodically you can do some updates to it with newer technology, those sort of things. So it's not a full overhaul, right? It's more of a facelift. But combined with that, all of our departments have been reviewing all their pages, updating a lot of information. So it's an ongoing process, but we will go live with our new main page between 1 and 4 on Wednesday. So it'll be a surprise. It'll just show up. So I do have the main page here for you to see. Can you click one of the lights for me just to kind of see? So essentially, the biggest updates obviously are the buttons. So we kind of took a lot of feedback that we've gotten from our search engines, from our Google Analytics data to really understand what people are looking for when they come to our page. So the idea is to kind of limit the amount of clicking that people need to do to get through to find content and information. So we kind of have our main features on this page, and then when you scroll down, you will see a much more heavily featured news and trending topics, and then some improvements on our calendars. Right now, when you go to our calendars, you have to make sure you're looking at a specific calendar. So like meetings are on one and community events are on another. And the feedback that we got from residents was, they're not seeing it because they're not clicking on the right calendar. So right now, that is sort of disjointed. On this updated, it's all one calendar. When you look at it, you're going to see everything, and you're not going to have to choose the calendar that you're looking at. So it's just going to be a much more streamlined process. So again, it's not fixing all of our things. It's really just trying to make it a little easier, especially on the main page. You're going to have that same sort of look and feel as you go across pages. We have some plans for when the rec center goes live that it'll look and feel similar, but it's going to be kind of its own separate page. And so we're kind of working on that as we play around with this as well. As we go through, we continue to update. We take a lot of feedback from residents if they're not finding anything or finding what they're looking for. We try and go in and make improvements on that. It's any website is like a maze of links, right? And we continue to find things we didn't know were there. And so, as that occurs and people make us aware of things, then we go in and we make it more accessible. We get rid of old information. Our departments have been great about really trying to overhaul their pages so that it is fresh information and that we're appointing somebody that is responsible for continually updating those pages so it doesn't get outdated, because that's the biggest issue when you have a website, is that it becomes stale very quickly. On the bottom right hand side, you'll see sort of our AI feature, so you can come over here and utilize the virtual chatbot. So we implemented that a few months ago. It, is meant to provide an easy way, like if I was going to look for like the holiday garbage schedule, to kind of get people information on that end. We also have multi-languages that we've had for a long time for people to utilize, as well as a feature that makes it ADA compliant. So somebody that needed certain accommodations, they can come over here and click this blue button and edit this page. Oops, wrong button. Edit the page so that it is, more accessible for their needs based on what they're looking for. So overall, it's not, like I said, it's not a total website overhaul, but it is vastly improved. And then we're continuing to make those improvements as we go along. So Donnie has really kind of taken that over and continues to work on that. So, as you come along, if a resident notes that they weren't able to find something on the website, like please let us know, because our goal is to identify those areas, even if it's a one-off, right? They can't find something they're looking for in the liquor license. We can go in and kind of look at that data and see if we can make some changes to make it, a much more user-friendly experience. So we just wanted to give a quick update on that.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Again, that's one of the features that we had with Civic Plus as our vendor that Suzanne and Brian and Donnie basically reminded them that they owed it, it was time for us to be able to get a free update. It isn't an overhaul, but it does, I think it's going to have a net positive effect. And I was just going to echo the comment of President Kazone. It was a nice job on the parade video. The neat thing that a bunch of, this, I worked on the parade stuff, but one of the things, a gentleman who's been working on that committee and getting a lot of the best acts, Khalid Sabri, and along with Kevin and Al and their Lori Lakota, their crack camera person, they did a really nice job of making it, everyone on the route didn't get this full parade experience, but right there at the viewing stand, a lot of groups stopped and did a little performance, and it made it it's a really nice video, and I appreciate it. And they got a nice job of thanking our sponsors, which got about $6,000 in sponsorships, not counting the money that the village put in. So we may have a tiny little nest egg left over for next year, so we can get some new acts in and continue to build there are some that required a fee to have them come. With those, we can continue to improve the parade and keep building on it. So that video is available, and I can get you the link if you want it. It's really nicely done. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're to item 14A, executive session. Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1 regarding the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
A second.
Trustee Alfano? Okay. Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. So we will go into executive session. We will adjourn our meeting out of executive session, so we won't be back until July 24th. Enjoy the next couple of weeks. Enjoy the summer weather and the Kiwanis concerts on Wednesday nights. We'll see you then.
No rain.
No rain.
No rain.